This is Empowered Human Academy. Welcome home.
I'm just on the edge of newness, right? So in my life, and I'm at a point in my career where I can pivot whatever way I want.
This is about love. This is about light. This is about the idea that you have everything you will ever need.
And this life of yours, this is where you grow, you expand, and you remember who you really are.
I'm Abe.
I'm Isaac.
In Empowered Human Academy, we join with humans of all kinds to feel the inspiration that can only come with empowered living.
The stories you hear today are unique, but the energy you hear today belongs to you too. So, with hearts wide open, let's begin.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. You're probably wondering, who is this person that's talking to me that I've never heard on this podcast before? Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Rebecca. I am the writer and producer on the podcast. And today we are switching things up to celebrate the end of season 1. And so today I am interviewing yours truly, Abe Lopez Bowen. Abe,
Yay.
hi.
Hello. Oh my gosh, I love that intro. And I'm so excited to have you interview me. 1, because I love our chats, and 2, because I just really like talking.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to dive in and chat, because actually we've done over 50 episodes and I'm like, there's so much I want to say and there's so much I want to do. And it's exciting that I have a chance to chat. So thanks for having me, Rebecca, and the team at not on air, Empowered Human Academy.
Yeah, I know. I've been super looking forward to this too, because I feel like I'm always interested in kind of peeling back the curtain a little bit. I want this to be a space where, with it coming to the end of season 1, a little bit of reflection, a little bit of the present moment, and a little bit of like just tapping into exploring what's feeling exciting to you right now. Yeah, it'll be fun just to have kind of like a snapshot. And so I'm excited to dive into.
Awesome.
So in that spirit of 50 episodes, Abe, let's reflect a little bit, rewind back in time to your initial, take us back to when you first kind of had the idea for the podcast, kind of get in that headspace, what sparked the initial idea? Yeah. What did you kind of have in your mind whenever you're like, I think I want to do this? Just take us back there.
Yeah. Well, I started Lightward Empowerment in January of 2020 after a year of just really feeling good in a lot of areas of my life, my physical health, my mental health, my spiritual health, my sexual health, everything. So I started Lightward Empowerment on a trip that we took to Hawaii in the beginning of the year. And I was like, I want to actually start coaching, empowerment coaching. And I wrote out this business plan. And part of that business plan was coaching, and then also included a digital academy called Empowered Human Academy, actually. And it was going to be a digital course to help folks kind of give them the groundwork to start their journey to an empowered life. And that might be something that I do one day, but I was working on it last summer with you, actually. And that was kind of the first time that you started working with Lightward in some capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was wanting to develop a course to help folks lay the foundation for themselves to know how to live an empowered life. And that was part of my business plan. And part of that course was going to be interviewing folks that are kind of living this empowered life themselves and asking them questions about what it meant to them, and for them to give examples of what that looked like. And we kind of came up with parts of the course, outlined different, sections of it. And we started, Isaac and I invited Isaac into this piece of the project because I really just like having conversations with him, alongside him with other people. And we interviewed, I reached out to Lisa Wardell and Catherine Gell, some of our old neighbors in Chicago who are doing some really dope shit. And that actually started getting more momentum internally. I felt like I was feeling more resonant towards I was resonating more with the podcast project, or it was just a conversation series at that point that was going to be included in the different modules for the Empowered Human Academy course, digital course. And I felt more energy in that direction. So actually what I did is I paused or just stopped creating the digital course, Empowered Human Academy, and just named the podcast Empowered Human Academy. Because I felt actually I was coaching for around 6 months, 7 months at that point. And I was like, I want to get a couple more months, or at least 6 more months underneath my belt before I create a digital course called Empowered Human Academy, because this is all new to me. So I just wanted to get my footing a bit, feel my footing, feel my feet on the ground a bit more in terms of the empowerment space. So Empowered Human Academy is just kind of developed, and then that just gained momentum, and we decided to just put more emphasis and energy into this project. And here we are over a year later, which is wild.
So wild. I know. It was like October of 2020, whenever the first one
so crazy
launched. Yeah. And I think it's like, it's not lost on me, the idea that like this launched in the middle of quarantine, like, especially in this moment of time, whenever, we were all like kind of in a physical separation and isolation. And, so it was this cool way to kind of like stay connected with people, like even in the midst of this really specific, unique, like collective separation that we were all experiencing, So it was like, I don't know, it's just cool that you found a way to like stay connected and get kind of innovative with like, oh, how can we keep connection alive in this moment in time whenever it's a little bit harder to do that,
Well, and that was a big part of my kind of mental health game last year. I needed to connect with people because I wasn't connecting in real life, and like we work for ourselves. So, and we didn't have a big team at that time. So it was really important for me with my clients and this podcast to kind of ground myself in the connection and in community and in conversation in order for me to kind of get through a really tough time for extroverts like myself.
I want to talk a little bit about, you touched on you and Isaac collaborating on this. I feel like y'all have, worked together in the like, you're heading Lightword together, creating your business. You've done like, photography together. You've done like, you've been in spaces where you've collaborated before, but this is a different flavor of collaboration, I wonder if you can I would love to hear you talk about kind of a little bit of maybe some discoveries that you've learned through like you and Isaac's dynamic, like as the podcast has evolved, as the conversations have evolved. I feel like y'all even have like a shorthand with each other, like as you're like interviewing people, writing notes, like talk a little bit about what you've kind of discovered about you and Isaac's dynamic in this process of over the past year of like creating this new thing.
Sure.
What's that felt like?
I'm going to first say it's interesting because I started a podcast back in 2017 and it was called 20 the Podcast. And I interviewed folks and I just asked them 20 questions. And actually the first person that I interviewed ever was, is one of the lead hosts for Entertainment Tonight, Lauren Zima. I went to high school with her and she's dating Chris Harrison and she's done some really cool, she's interviewed Beyonce, Meryl Streep, everyone you could ever want to interview. She's interviewed, and she was actually casual. My first. Totally. And she was my first interview when I was just trying this out. And it was the most, like, listening back on that episode, it was so embarrassing. And I have so much tenderness towards my old self. And I was like, thank God that I did not think about how I would show up, because if I listened to myself, I don't know, I was just so new in asking questions. And I think just having a conversation in this type of kind of way, which is a podcast, which is totally different than, say, going out for drinks. I try to bring myself, like I am in all situations, but it takes a different level of awareness to have these conversations. But when I asked Isaac to join me in this project, we had collaborated, Lightword Photography. We did weddings for almost 5 years together, and we, got published, and we have a really good way of connecting with folks, because Isaac brings something to connections that I can't, and vice versa. And I think a thing that I have noticed in our conversations is that he kind of picks up on areas that I don't, and vice versa. And it's really beautiful because, I mean, that's how we are in real life too. There are things that he remembers that I don't, and there are things that I bring to the table or remember that he doesn't. And it's kind of completes a more kind of holistic approach to the things that we're creating, because he has superpowers. Again, this sounds redundant, but he has superpowers that I don't, and vice versa. And I think that's really cool because it offers not only ourselves, but the people who we're connecting with in conversation or in business or in relationship, it kind of allows for us to explore more, because, you know, we bring things to the table that might be are unique to ourselves. So it's been really cool to hear kind of after each conversation, you know, him saying like, oh, I'm so glad you asked that. I wouldn't even think about that. Or I would say like, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's really important. And I think that's what kind of makes Lightword what Lightword is. You know, in my head, it just makes sense for us to do projects like this together, and a lot of things together, from our life to our business to the way we do things on the day to day. And that's the type of relationship that we have. We've chosen kind of this path to it's not a necessarily traditional path of kind of collaboration, but we do a lot of things together, and we hone in on our own superpowers, and we like cultivate those individually, but then we bring them in a way, we bring them together in a way that makes something really beautiful. And and that's also like been challenging sometimes, because we've had to grow in kind of learning the other person's way of things, and then also pushing back sometimes. And that has sparked really beautiful and hard and kind of sharpening conversations for both of us. So this podcast, and this podcast has been so good in helping me be able to communicate effectively, whether it be questions. There's been like so many times where someone asks like, that's a good question. And I'm like, yes, I love that. Like my Enneagram 3 achiever heart. I'm like, yes, I don't know why. It's just fun. Because a lot of these folks we've reached out to because we, you know, admire what they're doing, or we're really fascinated or curious about their life. So it's really cool to have that kind of shared affirmation, or a moment of affirmation about what we're doing in this conversation. So I think what I've really also liked in the collaborating with Isaac is he's brought folks to the table that I wouldn't have reached out to or even think to reach out to. It started actually with conversations with folks in our network that are doing really cool things. And then since then, it's cool to see Isaac reach out to folks that we might not have a relationship with yet, but it's cool to see him like being bold in the asks. You know, Amanda Ewing, the luthier, like that was someone he met online. And I was like, yes, that's super cool, because that's like something I would do, but it's been really cool to see him reach out to folks to have conversations about things that he's interested in. And he also talks a lot about this project being kind of therapy in a way, because he's, or just kind of satiating this sense of curiosity that he's been kind of embodying about the world for a long time. So does that all make sense?
It does. Yeah, I feel like it's cool how even, you know, in going on this adventure with y'all, I feel like even as this has progressed, I feel like we've had like more and more language for like, where I think y'all have always been clear. I don't think that the questions, like the small pool of questions that you do every time, I think those have been the same from the first one, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like those haven't changed. I'm
pretty sure. Yep, totally.
It's cool that those hold up, you know? And I like that. I don't know. I'm kind of even curious. I'm sure there's listeners that are curious of like, what was the evolution of those questions starting? Were y'all just like, how did you even know what questions you wanted to ask, I guess? And was it intentional choice to keep it really minimal in what you knew you wanted to ask? And then talk to me a little bit about the like, almost like the stepping into the river of a conversation and what kind of happens. And how do you know, like, what's the honing device inside of you that knows where you want to go? Like, talk to me a little bit about that, because that's such a thing, you know?
Yeah, I think going back to like being grateful that I didn't know what it would be like, like when I first started. I think when we first started this, it was only going to be a few conversations that would be a part of a digital course. So we didn't necessarily think like, oh, this is going to be a podcast. This needs to be structured. But I thought like, okay, let's keep this open-ended and see where it goes. And I think that just stuck. Like it made sense because we found a lot of energy in those types of conversations versus them being so structured, because I wanted it to be kind of like an intimate sit down with like a friend, for instance, that folks would view in the different modules in the academy or course. So not having it be so structured was kind of how I started it. And then we were like, oh, this is actually something that we're going to continue doing. Okay, let's just keep the structure. And then to answer your question about like how we navigate the conversations, we always like to share with our folks before the podcast, like answer the questions. Like we don't know where this conversation is going to go. We have a couple of questions in the beginning and in the end, but other than that, the middle is up for our kind of our creativity. Answer in a way that feels most exciting or that has the most energy. So we give them the space to be like, okay, if it doesn't feel good, don't answer that, or like don't answer it in a way that doesn't feel good. Answer in a way that in that direction has the most kind of light or feels most expansive to you, which has kind of proven to work really well because there have been some really beautiful and powerful conversations that we had no idea that we'd kind of come to and create. So it's been really fun.
Speaking of the like conversations, I like kind of hanging out on this idea of like, well, I feel like a word that kind of started to come up more as these conversations kind of start expanding more from like maybe a couple modules into like, oh, I think we have an entire season of a series, you know? I feel like the word like aliveness came up, and I think it's one of like, and whenever I'm listening to it, I can feel like y'all's antennas feeling for where the aliveness is, you know, when you're kind of stepping into someone's like universe for an hour, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I'm kind of curious of like kind of now moving it, intersecting with just like your own journey and your personal, like what you're moving through. I'm wondering if there were maybe just for fun, just to kind of reflect on, were there a couple episodes or even thoughts or ideas from a couple interviews that maybe like really resonated or like overlapped or gave you some language or something to think about that really intersected like with your own journey that maybe you wouldn't have found this year otherwise if it weren't these conversations happening?
Yeah, I think one that sticks out is Antonia's kind of serendipity and being open to new things kind of coming your way and being open and aligned with it. I think was just an affirmation of where and how Isaac and I have been, and how we tend to live and try to stay open to good things coming our way. And also, I was talking to a friend this morning. It's not just like being open to it, it's like a practice and like really intentional effort to be in alignment with the things that you want. So that was a really beautiful, I just loved her energy. I think I also really loved, I loved Jacoby recently. I just have like, I love people who are bold in what they want to do, and are really courageous in that way. Also Lisa Wardell, she was one of our first folks on the podcast, and I just am always inspired by just kind of the trailblazer that she is in so many ways, and being able to have access to a conversation like that was just, especially during the time that we had it with George Floyd's death, and was just really powerful. There was just a lot going on, and it was cool to have her as a friend on the podcast, kind of explore the idea of what it means to, you know, be in a room or create tables that haven't been made before. So yeah, there have been I feel like a lot of these folks have been and even Melissa Urban, we talked about life and boundaries and I mean, just a lot of different things. It felt like what's really cool about where I'm at in my career right now and where I'm at in life right now is that all these people who we like look, oh, Jing was also dope. Like love Jing from Fly by Jing. Like what I find,
Obsessed.
I loved everyone. And what I find really cool is that I think a former version of me, maybe even before the pandemic, would view myself as like, wow, like these conversations are amazing. Like I want to be like them. And like, kind of like, appreciating the conversation from a point of like, I'm not at their level or at like, I don't feel like a peer, but like all these conversations like felt really aligned with like who we are or like where we're going, or I felt really like a peer in a lot of these conversations, not someone like, oh, this like middle schooler, having a inspiring conversation with like a CEO kind of thing. I'm actually like, no, we are doing really cool things too. And I can show up in a confident way and lead this conversation with someone who is also doing cool things, but it's not, I think like in the past, it would be like, okay, they're cool, doing cool things. I hope to aspire to be like them one day. And granted, like, yeah, there are parts of everyone's story that like are really resonant and really inspiring. And also it was really cool creating this project from a place of confidence in who Isaac and I are and what we're creating, and showing up as a peer versus someone who like in the past would be like timid or like, oh, that person's so cool and I don't think I could ever have a life like that. It's like really, really encouraging to me to be in a spot in my life right now where I'm like, oh no, this actually aligns with like even where I'm at in a lot of ways. I feel really, not equal, but I feel like I belong at this table, at this conversation, which is like really cool. And that was a pleasant surprise that I really didn't think I would kind of have after 50 episodes. But I'm like, no, like we're dope too. And I think that sometimes in the past I would forget that, and I would just look to others and be like, wow, your life is so amazing. I'm like, yeah, your life is so amazing, and so is mine, and I can show up with that energy as well, versus kind of compensating for what I don't have. Does that make sense?
Let's talk about that more. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that shift. Like what do you feel like were the components of you? What I hear is like a shift of like looking out for external, like seeing something externally, but then turning in and being like, actually, no, it's inside of me too.
Yeah.
Like that is a very powerful shift to experience. Talk more about like what's going on. What was that? Or what do you feel like contributes to that?
I think there's so many components. One of them being I was alone in the pandemic for a year, and I really got to know myself and take care of myself and be comforted by myself in a way that I never have been before. So I'm like, no, I'm fucking dope. Like if like I'm a dope human, and it wasn't until like I was alone with myself. I was with Isaac, but like primarily alone with myself for a year until I like realized that like, no, I have so much to share with the world. I have so much beauty and love inside of me that is really precious and really rare in my opinion. Number two, I think there's so many threads of conversations that we had. There are so many threads within the conversations that we had that were really kind of eye-opening in terms of all these people who have accolades or awards or are doing cool things also share so many similar things to each other and myself too, that like you can have like Jing has her stuff at Target and Whole Foods now and is this like powerhouse, like upcoming powerhouse in the US, like gonna rival Sriracha at some point, you know what I mean? And yet she had insecurities about her name, and that was like really intimate. And like all these people are human as well, and like so am I. And I think that in the past when I saw the parts that made me human, I used to kind of judge them, versus now I'm like, no, those actually like are totally normal. I'm not going to view them as super heavy. And that doesn't take away from how amazing I am, because every single person that we've talked to has had hard times. Every single person has struggled with doubt. Every single person that we've talked to has similar experiences to all the rest. And yet they're still going to be doing what they still are doing what is theirs to do in this life. So I've looked at myself and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm the same way. Like, how can I look at my experience as, okay, I'm human and have all these things that are happening. And also, what am I here to do? And let's celebrate that and focus on that, because that's what the other people are doing.
Yeah.
Melissa talked openly about her trauma and all these different things that she's been through. And yet she's still doing what she's here to do and really confident and focus on that. So like, how can I hold both of those things together as well in my life? And then also, like, we are so, everything that we experience, from ritzy hotels to these giant corporations to these, everything that we experience are made from humans. And all those humans, again, share the same thread through line of the human experience, which includes hurt and self-doubt and maybe disconnection from their true self or whatever. So I've seen a lot of, like, I think another part of the reason why I feel like this is because over the last 5 to 10 years, from university presidents to CEOs to lawyers to all these people who, like, the world kind of society deems as like these amazing people, I've been able to meet some really incredible people. And also I've been able to see their humanity behind the titles. And it's been really kind of equalizing to me, because I'm like, oh, if they can do it, then I can do it. And I am doing it in my own way. So I'm going to show up. Like, there's, I've moved past the like goo goo eyes phase of like, wow, this person's an X or a Y, like an actor or whatever. And I'm like, that's dope. And I really respect that. And I love that. And also, like, they struggle with similar things that I do. That I do. And like, how equalizing is that? And how empowering is that? And how much of an invitation that is for me to, like, know that, okay, everything that we see is made by people who are experiencing similar things than I am. So what kind, like, that invites me into my own, like, freedom, knowing that, like, if this person created this really dope thing that I'm experiencing right now, and they are also going home to self-doubt or all these different things, then, like, what can I do when I'm actually in a space of empowerment where I actually feel really confident in myself? What can I do now? Because it's just kind of like a camaraderie. Like, I feel like camaraderie with these folks, because we're all human at the end of the day. Does that all make sense?
Oh, I love that. It makes so much sense to me now, because I feel like we were talking about earlier, you were like, how there's certain things that, you know, Isaac looks for, brings into conversation. There's certain things that you look for and bring to a conversation. One thing that I can see, I feel like in these, because I've listened to all of them, written intros for all of them, you know, I feel like in interviews, and whenever you're experiencing someone's story, I feel part of the honing device that's inside of you, that you are really drawn to, like, wanting to unpack parts of people's stories. You, like, almost, I see you, it makes sense why you're passionate about demystifying this idea of, like, arrival, a point of arrival, you know, as in, like, there's a point of arrival that then qualifies you to make dope shit or to, like, exist in some way. So it makes sense of, like, your passion for, like, humanizing, you know, like, in finding the entry points of, like, wait, no, tell me what you're thinking then, or tell me what, like, unpacking story. It makes sense because it's like, it actually can be in your life. It sounds like it's been this, like, point of fuel, and actually kind of like a way of, when you demystifying the, like, oh, there's some sort of place or arrival, you're actually empowering the idea that, like, wait, oh, actually, I can just start from exactly now, you know? And that's
totally.
It's I'm making it, there's a connection that's just, like, happening in my brain where I'm like, oh yeah, it's cool hearing you talk about, like, maybe even just that personal thread in your own life, because it's making that, I don't know, like, it's bringing in the layer of meaning of why you're passionate about finding that in someone's story of, like, oh no, wait, let's camp out. And how have you, what's going on in your head, what's in your mind,
Yeah.
all of that, because then pulling those things out makes us feel just, I don't know, it's like a reminder of like, oh, it's all right here, right now,
Yeah. The word that keeps on coming to mind is like, it makes it within reach for me to like grab onto the things that like I can do in my life, because I'm like, it makes it close, because for so long, I don't think that a lot of people have access to folks who are doing really cool things like entrepreneurs or CEOs. So like, how can I kind of make it within like visual or audible or tangible reach where someone can be like, grab onto something that they said about their life and apply it to their own life, that really ignites or invites this open kind of opportunity within, or like opens up this like desire or desire to actually go towards what they want. Because for so long, I didn't have that in my life. So that's why I was like, oh, I looked at folks and I'm like, what is a part of their life that I can learn about so that I can create that for myself? And that's what I've always been curious about, like whether it be teachers or people who I've seen as successful, quote unquote. And then along the journey, I've seen that side, and I've also seen their human side, which has, again, equalized it for me, equalized this kind of, demystified this like, wow, you're an actor or this famous person. But I'm like, oh, girl, like, let's talk about how like you live out of a suitcase and you need to like order room service for 3 weeks at a time, and how stressful that could be. How do you stay healthy during that? How do you stay mentally healthy during that? Because that's a lot on the body that no one really thinks about. So I just like to talk about the things that really no one likes to talk about, I guess.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
Totally. You said a phrase that was super cool to me. You talked about, or I think you said something like the edge of opportunity. And that makes me think of something I've been curious that I would love to hear about, just kind of dropping into the present very much right now, like along those lines of kind of demystifying and just kind of dropping into like, what's coming up, what's going on, kind of exploring a little bit like the edge of like your aliveness right now. Like, where are you feeling that? Where is your aliveness kind of taking you? What's coming up for you right now? Like, kind of describe for me like what's going on in your present that are you currently like exploring. To unpack that a little bit for me.
This is the first time in my life that I have been having an interesting experience with goals and with like looking forward to something, knowing that that the journey holds a lot more kind of excitement than sometimes like an actual goal is, you know what I mean? Because when I reach a goal, it's like very short-lived. Like, I was featured in a magazine like for the second time for my photos earlier this year, and I already forgot about it. Right. So when I first became a photographer, I was like, it's my goal to be published. Right. And I was published, but then like I get there and then I'm like, cool, this is awesome. And then it's just like, okay, well, I'm back on the journey again. Right. So I think I've been more fascinated and more curious about the journey, or kind of the patterns and the routine and the momentum that I'm in, versus like getting to a specific goal. Isaac talks a lot about like money or success being a symptom of the process versus having it be the opposite way around. And I really understood that cognitively for a long time, but I haven't really felt that until this point in my life where I'm like, okay, well, I have a lot of things that I've always dreamt about, which have been my goals. And now it's just like, how do I stay curious and excited in the process of the next thing that I'm going to do, which I don't even know right now. There are some projects on looking ahead for Lightward, but I'm in such an interesting space right now. I'm kind of on the leading edge of kind of what I've always, I'm on the edge of like where I'm just on the edge of newness, right? So in my life, and I'm at a point in my career where I can pivot whatever way I want. And I've never been in this position. So I'm not focused on like, typically I'm like, okay, by next March, I'm going to be doing this, right? I I'm looking ahead right now and I'm saying like, this is what I want to feel like, but I have no idea what specifically it could look like because I've never been at this point in my journey, which is really cool and a little bit destabilizing a bit. Like it's really hard sometimes because
it's a little disorienting too.
It's kind of fucky. Like you're like, well, okay, now I'm here. And then what? And I've been saying that a lot lately, but I feel like I'm just kind of I'm actually going through also like a little bit of burnout right now too, which is like, we're almost 2 years into the pandemic. There's just a lot of factors that are contributing to it. So I'm giving myself kind of the space to not need to know what's going to happen next March or like what even the projects that I'm kind of working on, what they're going to look like. Because actually going back to what I said, I'm so glad that I didn't know what it would be like in the beginning of my first podcast, because I want to just be I want to be a little bit ignorant in the beginning of something new, because if I'm a little bit ignorant by choice, then I don't get in my head about what it could look like or not aligning with what I should be doing at a certain point. It gives me the freedom to just really get to know the environment that I'm in and the environment that I'm creating, and then have that inform what happens next versus just hold on to this like really tight grip goal that might not even be attainable or whatever. And I think I'm in this season right now of just like letting that be okay. Letting it be like reconnecting to the things that make me feel alive. I've over the course of the last 2 years, ever since starting Lightward Empowerment, it's funny, I'm so emotionally aware and I'm so emotionally intelligent that like sometimes it just becomes like a script because I know all that. I don't know all of it. I know a lot about like my own kind of personal, mental, spiritual health and just kind of general themes. I know a lot for someone who isn't like academically like a psychologist or whatever, but I have felt that it's become more living like a script versus like feeling it in my heart as much. And I'm like started Lightward Empowerment when I was so alive in my heart, and feeling it in my body, my soul, my mind, everything, all those three really connected. So just by way of the year and a half that we've had, it's been really beautiful and powerful and also draining in some ways, because I'm in a new state of creating, which is beautiful. And again, like this is the stuff, what I'm saying right now in the season that I'm in right now is what I'm curious about with other people's stories. So I'm glad that I'm talking about it, because it's hard to talk about in the moment when you're experiencing it, because it's really vulnerable and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen next. And that's like a really vulnerable space to kind of proclaim. But how many stories, how many entrepreneurs, how many artists, how many authors, how many creators, how many humans, period, have been at a place in their story that they didn't know what would happen next? All of us. If we act like we do, then like, I mean, I don't know.
Bullshit.
Give me some of your superpowers. And I think it's really beautiful to normalize that, because we can normalize it and then also not take away all the beautiful and epic things that we've created. I don't want to I look back on this past year and I'm burnt out right now. And also I had a fucking amazing year in so many ways, thankfully. And I'm so grateful for that. And how can I ask myself, like, how can I hold those two realities and be really tender with myself in that space versus, oh, well, I only look at the bright side and I'm not going to spiritually bypass myself. Like, no, I'm going through a time right now where I'm not as connected to my creativity, or I'm not as connected to the things that I'm usually am. And that's okay. Like that is okay. And how can I hold that and be curious about it? And slowly kind of like tend to it as I slowly build my energy back up. So that's like where I'm at, which I'm excited about, because it's tough some days for sure. And also I'm in this like new space that I never thought I would be in. And it like reminds me that like, whoa, I have the agency to create what I want. And I don't know what that is. And like, on the other side of this, I'm going to look back and thank myself, because I'm going to create these new muscles in my body that I had never even felt before, because I didn't need to use those muscles. And now I'm like, ooh, like, when you do a workout, you're like, I didn't even know I had that muscle.
Yeah, you're like looking in the mirror and you're like, what is this sneaky ab thing
like,
happening at the back? Yeah.
Totally.
Right?
You're like, how did I use that? And I think that's the space that I'm in figuratively. I'm working out muscles that haven't been used maybe ever. And I'm like really uncomfortable, but also like, I know it's going to be dope because it's going to just make me feel a lot better when I get to know what those muscles feel like when I'm working them properly.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
I love cool. that. I love that analogy. That is really, really resonates.
And I watch Gary Vaynerchuk a lot, and he talks about a lot about the journey and like entrepreneurship. You're always he's like, I have failed like 100 times more than I have succeeded. And that I think he tries to normalize this like process of not getting it all right. And I think that's beautiful. And that's why I want to I'm more focused right now on just really trying to enjoy the journey and really trying to like make the most of my everyday kind of momentum that I'm creating for myself versus like, I need to hit a certain number of listeners or we need to make a certain amount of money. Like, dude, how can I just be creative or just like sit in, or how can I just dance with the moment that I'm in a way that is fun to me? Because I want to dance with it. I want to have fun with it. And, that's the season that I'm in right now.
I love that. You talked about like that you're really like led from like a heart space, and like kind of like whenever we've, talked in the past of like you just building, it seems to me that dropping into your heart is kind of like your path to engaging your creativity. Do those two things feel connected, like the heart and creativity?
Oh yeah, totally.
I want to unpack a little bit of like, what are the components of like, as you're kind of working this cocktail of like kind of coming back into that heart space and like maybe acknowledging like, oh, I feel disconnected from my creativity right now. That's great. Fine. But like, what are the components for you? What's part of that cocktail of like, what does it look like for Abe to drop back into his heart? Like what's involved? What are the pieces? To kind of paint that picture for me a little bit.
Yeah. I think one of the things I've been saying to my friends lately is that I've been working out of my head a lot for the last, since the pandemic started, from looking at like COVID data every day and then creating, all this content or, even growing our team from 4 people to 10 people total. Like that's just a lot on the mind that can sometimes like when you're in the moment, like kind of suck you in, not in a bad way, but I need to, again, drop into my heart in order to feel this creative sense of expression that is what makes me, I feel like Abe and the rambunctious kind of energetic person that I am. And I feel like what it looks like to me is having a beautiful relationship with the mind and the heart, but knowing when to like sink into the heart. Like I'm really strategic. I'm very curious. The reason why I love this podcast is because like I'm learning all the time. Like I'm really aware of everything that's going on at all times because I'm just an aware person. Like I'm very highly sensitive to environment and like feng shui, and like I'm just hyper aware all the time, which like is a lot in the brain, right? I'm just like trying to process everything to then like see how it's going to impact my life. And these conversations, I'm deeply curious about what other people's stories are because one, it's fascinating. And two, I'm curious about like how my life, I'm going to shape my beautiful tenure on this earth, like in a way that's resonant to me, in a way that makes me feel healthy and good. So all that to say that when I'm connected to my heart, it's like taking those things that I like know in my head and like having kind of like painting a masterpiece with that in my own life. So whether it looks like flirting with humans because I love flirting, or exploring somewhere new, or smelling different things, or being like stimulated, like my body being stimulated in different environments, and having my camera and being curious about light, things that I feel in my body. Like, when you listen to a song and you get chills, it's like that on repeat a lot. Like that's what living with my heart feels like, where it's like, ooh, I just feel like your body like tenses up in a good way. And you're like, oh, I feel so excited. Like, and then you just dance. And I feel like I haven't had that has come to me by way of me creating it intentionally. Which requires a lot of different components: travel, working out, eating healthy, flirting, exploring art, having conversations like we have. And there are a lot of different components to what it makes. Like, there are a lot of different components in my life that make me feel connected to my heart that I haven't had access to, or I haven't really curated for myself or created for myself since the pandemic happened. And I've been really kind of just working with my head. So the question that I'm asking myself is like, what are those things in my life that I had before when I felt really connected to my heart? And do they belong in my life now? Do I still resonate with them? If so, how can I like start creating experiences to align and to kind of bond with the things that make me feel alive again? And how can I do that effectively and over time? Because it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be like, oh, I went out to dinner, therefore I'm happy now, right? It's more like, how can I get into this beautiful momentum of having those components be an active, alive part of my existence and my thought patterns again? How can I do that in a way that kind of slowly builds up over time to then have me be like, okay, I feel really good now. You know what I mean? So I think it's acknowledging that I, don't have I'm not creating those experiences for myself yet as much as I would like to, and being okay with that. And then just actively putting in the work to get there, because it's not going to magically come. Like I think the first step of it is acknowledging that it's not there, being okay with it, and then searching and being curious about what those components are, and then slowly inviting them back in and being bold about that and being like, no, I need this. And in order for me to, I was telling my friends, we were meeting with some odd pilot, an agency in Chicago, with the CEO and some folks who worked on a branding project for us yesterday. And they're like, they asked me a question about like, what makes you you, or something like this, or something about entrepreneurship. And I was like, I love being an entrepreneur. I love starting projects, closing projects, seeing what we're so fortunate to be in a space right now where we can do that. And I used to be ashamed of being fortunate, right? Like, and now I'm like, no, I'm like so grateful to be fortunate. I want to do really cool things with it, because what a fucking gift to have a company that is creating enough revenue to have kind of a safety net to be able to explore different projects that make me feel alive. Number one. And number two, I want to be an entrepreneur for a long, long time. And in order for me to be an entrepreneur for a long, long time, I need to be in a healthy pattern. And it can't just be this burnout, like this cycle of burnout, right? Like, it's like, I'm excited, then I work too hard, and then I burn out. What components do I need in order for this lifelong journey of entrepreneurship to be sustainable and also life fulfilling, not just in the head, but in the heart? Because I don't want to live my life in my head. I want to live my life really connected with all different parts of myself that are really powerful, because I believe that I'm an Enneagram 3. So my heart center is my most powerful part about myself. And I feel that people feel that when I'm alive in my heart, because I am generous. I am not scarce for time. I don't feel scarce for time, or I'm hopeful. I'm deeply, deeply curious. I'm deeply, deeply creative. Like, there are things that, like my birthday, my 30th birthday, where we had like 100 people are still surprised that I had like this epic 30th birthday with like black and white event, and I dressed up the way I did, and I got introduced the way I did. But that came from a place of feeling so alive and saying, why not me? Let me fucking do this, because this sounds so exciting, and let me dream up of ways, because I have enough energy and I have enough things in my life where I can kind of pull inspiration from to create this epic party. And I don't have a lot of those things that I'm pulling from in my life right now to create this new thing, or the things that I'm going to continue to do in my entrepreneurship journey right now in this moment. They will come, because it's my responsibility to get in alignment with myself, so that way I can pull from inspiring things to create more. But I want to be an entrepreneur for a long time. And that is going to require me to be intentionally steadfastly focused on feeling good as much as I can.
I love that so much. It's like something inside of you is like, oh, it's time to gather again. Paint a picture. So maybe it's like a moment, kind of, I would love for you to imagine or create a future moment that you're in, like a city that you really want to explore. Kind of let your imagination go to this place, and whether it's imagining a day or imagining a day in a place you've never been, or maybe a place that really inspires you. What are you doing that day? Imagine the components that make you feel like so filled up. Like what are you doing? What does the day feel like? Just in a couple sentences, like just take us there.
So we wake up in a very luxurious hotel that has really good lighting. Like their attention to detail with their lighting in their hotel is really beautiful. So when you walk in, it makes you feel like you're in kind of a movie set. And the smell of the hotel is really beautiful, and just everything you look at is thoughtfully created and designed. I go work out because I really, really love my body, and it's a workout that just makes me feel good. That like I'm, listening to beautiful music that really pumps me up, that makes me feel alive and really good in my body. Then I maybe go for a quick sauna to get those extra toxins out of my body. Then I go upstairs, I get dressed for the day, I shower, get dressed. Oh, the shower is immaculate, good water pressure. It's really lovely. Maybe some stone background. Stone back tile. And
Aesop soaps in there too.
Aesop or Hermes or anything luxury. And then I put on an outfit that makes me feel really fashionable and really powerful in my body. And comfortable shoes. They're stylish, but comfortable, because if I'm going to walk around like I'm just thinking of a European city all day, I want to feel sexy. Then we have morning tea with or brunch with I'm with Isaac, by the way, because he's my dude. We have an hour and a half brunch, breakfast with a designer or a creator in that city who we met through just kind of reaching out, or we've collaborated on something. Maybe it's the person who we actually just license our new font with, who is out of Switzerland. Maybe we meet them, but it's people who are doing incredibly cool things that we're curious about, who also get the good energy vibe. Like it's not hard to talk about the deep shit that we love talking about. And also it feels really good energetically. Then we walk around, we explore different coffee shops or different museums. We have a really delectable, gorgeous lunch. We actually meet up with a friend who we flew out from the United States just because we wanted to, and we spend the afternoon exploring together. And then we go back, shower up. Exploring. We take photos. We take photos of each other. We meet new people. We flirt. I flirt. All the things. Then we go to another really cool restaurant. It doesn't need to be this fancy. It could be a fancy restaurant, or it could be like a really beautiful tapas restaurant in a cave that's just really different, that you go in and you're like, wow, everything about this experience is totally different. And you have I have a beautiful conversation with the waiter or waitress. And I learn about some cool places that locals go to. And then we go to a place recommended by our waiter, and just have a nightcap. And then we come back for a second nightcap at a roof deck in the hotel that we're staying at, overlooking the city, with our friend or friends, and maybe some new folks that we learned that we met along the way that day. And then we go to sleep, and it's great.
Thank you for that.
So fun.
I love it. I love it. May that moment be one that you live into over the next couple moments. Next couple months.
Love that.
Okay, we're going to land this plane. Yes. And you knew that these questions would come back to you at some point. We have to end with these. But Abe, the babe, what does an empowered Abe look like, feel like?
Ooh, empowered Abe looks like a man who feels confident in his body, feels alive and expressive. He is actively pursuing the things that make him come alive and feel alive. He is chasing them with very intense focus and open-handed kind of optimism. And he is encouraging and inspiring others in their own beauty and their own journey. He is laughing. He is loud. He is quiet. He is confident in the way that he expresses himself verbally, emotionally, sexually. And he has wide-eyed wonder with the world and what's possible.
It's gorgeous. And Abe, what do you know for sure?
What do I know for sure? I know that my heart is beating right now and that it will continue to beat until I die. And I'm so grateful for the little muscle that makes me alive. It's so cool. It's kind of emotional thinking about how our heart is just pumping right now. And that's allowing us to have this like really, our bodies are feeling this conversation. So I know that my body's feeling this conversation and that, everything is what it is. And I also know that there's so much history that we don't know because it's been colonialized and there's so many voices that have not been heard. And I'm really curious. And I know that the human experience is so complex and so beautiful and so nuanced. And that gives me freedom to, and it provides an invitation for me to live into my own nuance. And that's really beautiful.
Abe, thank you for following that dream. Thank you for following your intuition and your desire and creating this podcast. Like literally it was like, this is an expression of you following that inside of you. So thank you. And, maybe continue. Thanks for sharing yourself with me here. It's been a lot of fun and here's to more. So let's go.
Onward and upward. Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is the work of Lightward, our company, named for that toward the light direction which informs every single thing that we do, including money, which means, like everything else, the way we earn revenue is not based on industry norms. It's based on what feels deeply right and aligned by passing through the door that feels like it has more behind it, not less. And the way we keep this podcast going is all Lightward. It's pay what feels good. It's an exchange of value between you and us. We're keeping conventional podcast advertising totally out of this. And here's how Pay What Feels Good works. We give you this episode because it feels good to do so. And you consider, honestly, what number of dollars this episode is genuinely worth to you. I do not care if that's $3, $1,000, or literally $0 and a heart emoji, as long as that trade genuinely makes your day better. And the energy there is the entire point. That is what we're building our business on. No advertisers, no selling your attention, just you and us, trading value in a way that builds us both up. So whatever the number, when you're done listening, head to empoweredhumanacademy.com and hit the Pay What Feels Good button. We use this policy across all of our company's work, and I'm really excited to bring it here to the world of podcasts. This is us voting for the world that we want to see. Thank you for being here.